Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. What you really are will speak so loudly that what you claim you are will not be heard. Those are the words from Napoleon Hill. And if you've never read any Napoleon Hill stuff, I highly recommend it. He wrote in the early 1900s, about 100 years ago. It's some good stuff. He's got some really good books. Think and Grow Rich is one of his most popular books. He's got one called Outwitting the Devil. It's really great. And then he's got a huge, big, thick book, the Law of Success, or the Laws of Success, something like that. I forget what it is. I just finished reading one, How to Own Your Own Mind. But Napoleon Hill puts out some great stuff. So I'm here with you today to kick off part 2 of 30 from Blue Collar Leadership and Teamwork, 30 Traits of High Impact Players. And I'm actually recording this on Saturday, January 7th. I just finished up being on a video call with Jason Denham. He's Vice President of Electrical Construction at Kilgore Industries. He's VP over pretty much everything electrical construction at Kilgore, inside of Texas and beyond Texas. And he does a monthly event. He calls it the Kilgore Leadership Drip. And he gets his team members, he invites guests, he gets family members, all kind of people get on this video call. Today he had about 100 people. He's on there for free. Everybody gets on there for free. It's voluntary. And he just finished up this book, actually. They go through 3 or 4 chapters each, the first Saturday of every month. And I just got done with it. That team of folks on there, they got me fired up. I'm like, I gotta plug in my microphone and do this part 2 real quick, because I usually record these things in advance a little ways out. So anyway, today, trait 2 of 30 is be trustworthy. And I'm going to remind you again those words from Napoleon Hill. What you really are will speak so loudly that what you claim you are will not be heard. And Stephen M.R. Covey, he wrote my third favorite book of all time. Not Stephen R. Covey that wrote The 7 Habits, but his son, Stephen M.R. Covey. He wrote The Speed of Trust. There's some good content in that book. And I've recorded some previous episodes. I'm pulling my phone out real quick while I'm talking to you. And if I slow down a little bit, it's because I'm trying to go find out this lesson. It just hit me. A lot of what I teach you comes from subconscious. So a lot of times when I get to talking or thinking about things come to my mind. So not going to back up. I'm just going to go find it. And there's a 4-part series, starts at episode 266 through 269, where I teach you some of the principles and share my own thoughts from that book. So if you want to deep dive in trust, deeper than we're going today, go check out those episodes. But he says the subtitle of his book is, the title is The Speed of Trust. The subtitle is Trust is the One Thing That Changes Everything. And I say trust is the one thing that impacts everything. That call that I was on just a moment ago before I started recording this podcast, literally like 5 minutes ago, that team's building trust. See, teams who grow together, meaning they develop themselves, they get together and develop themselves, they're growing and developing themselves together. They also grow together, meaning they come together, which means they're building trust. That's the only way you're going to get closer to someone, is build trust with people. So all those people that was on that call a moment ago, all the electrical construction team, some of the other team members from Kilgore outside of electrical construction, because they're a large MEP, they do mechanical, electrical, plumbing, they do all kind of construction in Texas. They headquartered out of Houston. Jason lives up in the Dallas, Arlington area. And they have locations in San Antonio, Austin, but they operate all over the place. So if you need some MEP type contracting work, you need to go check them out. And definitely, if you need some electrical construction work, Jason and his team are doing some great things, and they value all the things that I'm telling you about. And if you in the electrical construction industry and you value what I'm talking about, and you want to go get on a high grade team, you need to check out Jason Denham. Find him on LinkedIn and check out Kilgore Industries. He's looking for high grade people. He likes to keep his pipeline full. He don't have a problem attracting top talent. They're usually in line waiting to join his team. So he ain't one of those people you hear out there moaning, groaning, whining about they can't find any people or they can't find good people. Jason is attracting and stealing the top talent from all over the place in his industry. They're out there waiting. A lot of them get on that call that I was telling you about a moment ago. He builds trust with people who don't work there, who want to work there, and he invites them to get on that call. And I'm going to tell you this, if they get on that call, they build a lot of trust with Jason. So he's leveraging that call for all types of things. But the foundation of it is to grow and develop his team. And then that expands into growing and developing other people. So when we talk about teamwork, Jason's building a team. He's becoming trustworthy. There's people don't even work in his industry. Today there was someone who's in nursing from a hospital in their area in Houston, I believe, if I remember right. And she's on there, and she's getting value out of it. There's people from the city of St. Peter's, city government in Missouri. 4 or 5 of their people were on there, including the city manager, Mr. Bill, and Joshua Davis. Joshua drives a trash truck. So you got the city manager on there, you got the trash truck driver on there, and they're both adding and contributing. They're both growing. Their team's getting stronger. The Kilgore team's getting stronger. But for me, why it matters is our country's getting stronger. That's the team I'm working on developing and building. I'm building a team nationwide and worldwide of people who value this kind of content. But you want to be a high-impact team player, trait 2 is be trustworthy. You cannot make someone trust you. You can't make it happen. All you can do is choose to be trustworthy, and then other people who share your values based on who you are can choose to trust you. But trust is based on 2 things. If you follow me long enough, you've heard me talk about these things. But again, I'm focusing on putting the context of everything I'm talking about in this series relative to teamwork. Trust is based on 2 things: a person's character, that's who they are, that's why they do what they do, that's how they do what they do. Character is everything that you are. It doesn't mean you're good or bad. It means you are who you are. That is your character. It's all relative. What you think's good, I might think's bad. What I think's good, you may think's bad. I mean, it goes both ways. People have different values. I could do one thing, build trust with you, and at the same moment, somebody standing beside you, I could create distrust with them. That's how this stuff is so. Character development, leadership development is so dynamic, so complex. It's simple on the surface. Leadership's influence. That's how simple it is. But what creates influence, it starts getting complicated and dynamic. Why? Because people are different. Everybody's different. Everybody's got different experiences. Everybody on your team has different experiences. They have different values. They have different goals. That's why you, especially if you're a top leader, you got to identify and adopt a set of values that you want to say, this is who we are, this is who we want to become, this is who we want to align ourselves to be. And then you've got to model it if you're a top leader. But if you're a high impact team player, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be like Josh driving a trash truck, or you could be like Bill at City of St. Peter's, city manager. It doesn't matter who you are. If you want to be a high impact team player on your team, you got to align yourself with high impact values and principles. So that other component of trust is a person's competency. It's what they know. It's their skills. It's their talent. It's their abilities. It's their skills. It's their knowledge. But your team members, your team regardless of who they are, they're going to trust you based on your character, who you are, relative to what they value. See, so if you're bringing in team members who don't value what you value, let's say you're the leader and you ain't really cast a vision and you ain't said this is who we are, and you don't do leadership development for everybody from top to bottom so that everybody can understand what it is we're trying to achieve, who we're trying to be. If you're just a leader who's listening to my podcast, reading books, studying, getting better, but you're not cascading the vision out to your team, they don't hear it coming from you, they don't see you modeling it, you're not building trust with your team, first of all, that you really care about the team, because you're just developing yourself and not your team. But if you don't cast that vision and you just letting anybody come, let's say there are some people on your team following you because they share your values, but then there are other people who don't. Let's say they're doing some hiring, so they're hiring in people who don't share your values or some of your other team members' values who do share your values. Now you're bringing in people. It's like putting oil and water together. What you expect? They don't mix. They don't mix. So numerous studies have revealed our character is responsible for 87 to 90% of our ability to build trust. That's a lot. I used 87. And our competency is responsible for only 10 to 13%. And if you know me, I talk about the 13. I say 87% of our results in life, our ability to build trust, that's how you get results. The kind we're talking about is you got to build trust. That's based on your character, 87%. And only 13% from competency. So you got to have a competency when you're talking about teamwork, because if you got a team, you got a team for a reason. You're trying to accomplish something. So whatever that something is, for that team to trust you, you got to have competency. And you got to be developing that competency, not resting on what you've already learned in the past. I mean, you can rest on that, but you're not going to be a high impact player building high impact trust. Just say you got two rock stars. One of them's resting on what they already learned. They're a rock star. So what they've already learned is enough at the moment. So you got two of them. They're both rock stars. They both performing at a high level, but one of them's not growing their competency. One of them is still growing their competency. Which one you going to value most? Which one you going to trust the most? The one who's still growing their competency. Pretty simple. You could turn that scenario around and talk about character. Which one you going to trust the most? The one who's resting on the character that they have, or the one who's trying to build and develop their character to get better, even though they're both rock stars? See how easy it is to understand it and see it when you break it down to one component, to one high impact trait. Look at that trait. All you got to do is say everything else is the same, but look at this one trait. If I got two people, they're identical, they're top performers, but one of them excels in whatever trait you want to identify, and one is just taking it easy, resting on what they've got. Which one you going to trust more? It's obvious. Which one are you, though? Pull out that mirror. Which one are you? If you listen to my podcast, I know you're working on developing your character. What about your competency? If you're in the business I'm in, character is the same, because my competency is my character. Developing my character helps me develop my competency, because that's what I do. I write about and speak about and talk about everything that I do is about character development. That's my lane. So character and competency for me is the same. But like for Jason at Kilgore Industries, he's vice president of electrical construction. So obviously electrical construction work is in his lane, but also he's a VP. So there's lots of other things he's got to have a competency for in order to lead that organization. So he's got to be growing and developing in that space too if he wants to build trust. But it goes down all the way to the frontline entry-level workforce, everybody in between. Same thing. When you talk about teamwork, if you want to be trustworthy, You got to have a certain degree of character and you got to have a certain degree of competency. But if you want to be a high impact player, you got to be growing and developing in those areas. Your character will either launch you or limit you in life. But remember, we're talking about teamwork. Your character is going to determine how much your team likes you. Do they accept you? Do they embrace you? Do they support you? Do they lift you up? Or does that team limit you? Do they hold you back? Do they let you learn the hard way? Are they giving you good word of mouth advertisement or bad word of mouth advertisement? It's going to be based on your character and your competency. How trustworthy are you? If you don't fit on the team, I promise you they ain't talking good about you. And if you're a high impact team player, you're lifting them up. I know they're talking good about you. You're helping them win. You're helping them excel. With trust, we have much influence. Without trust, we have little influence. And it doesn't matter who we're talking about, where we're talking about. But relative to your team, with trust, you're going to have lots of influence. If everybody on your team trusts you, you're going to be able to have a high degree of influence with everybody on your team. If one person on your team trusts you, the other 10 do not, well, you're going to have a lot of influence with one team member and very little with the other team members. And it's the same way. If you're a CEO with 10,000 people who share your values and trust you, you're going to have a lot of influence. People who don't, you're not going to have very much influence. You may have a lot of the authority if you're the CEO, but you won't have much influence, authentic influence beyond what they have to do to keep their job. If you want to build a high-performance team, you better have a lot of influence. So that's why you got to, the top leader, to have a truly high-performance team, the top leader has to align the team around a set of values. So everybody understands what do we have to do in order to build trust with each other. And then if you don't want to do it, well, we're going to miss you because you don't fit. And I heard Jason, the VP of Kilgore Electrical Construction, this morning on that call that I was on a minute ago. I heard him telling his folks. He said, the folks who are not volunteering to be on this call with us the first Saturday of the month, he said, I consider them the bottom 10% of our team. They don't want to invest in their own growth and development. He values that highly. All of those people, and there were a lot of them who were on that call, they value that highly. Anybody on there, they all kind of know who's on there. They probably get on there and look, see who's dialing in, because you can look at a list of who's on the call. If they got access to the computer, they're looking. If they don't, they're listening, and they're looking at the screen, see who's on there, who's showing up. All of those people are building trust together. And it was cool to hear Jason, because he said, hey, if you're going to be in the bottom 10%, it's volunteer. You have to volunteer to come there. I mean, if you want to be there. But you don't have to volunteer to be there. But you also don't have to work at Kilgore Electrical Construction. And Jason's making that clear. You don't have to come to my meetings on once a month. But if you don't, you're probably going to get an opportunity to work for our competition because you don't fit here. And he doesn't think less of those people, but he's trying to build a high-performance team. You don't build a high-performance team with a bunch of slackers. You build a high-performance team with a bunch of go-getters. And those people who show up once a month on his call, see, he's building trust with them. He's pouring into them. He's a vice president, and he is pouring into anybody who will log in and get on that call, or either show up at one of the physical locations and get in the room, because they have a bunch of those too. And they got one big camera showing everybody sitting around the table. He's building trust as a top leader. I mean, he spends an hour and a half or so on there once a month. And anybody in the organization can interact with him. They can get on there and talk. They can see who he's about. They can feel his character. He can feel their character. They building a high-performance team. They already got one relative to everyone else. But Jason knows what I know. You don't have to be sick to get better. So with trust, team morale is high. Without trust, team morale is low. These folks who are getting on that call because they really want to be on that call, their morale is high. But see, there's some folks who get on that call because they think if they get on, they ain't going to be in the bottom 10%. They can still get on that call and be in the bottom 10% if they just faking it. A lot of people fake it. In that case, faking it with a high impact leader, you ain't gonna make it. Fake it till you make it don't work with high impact leaders. You gonna fake it, and then you got to take it somewhere else. That's what's gonna happen. You fake it, and then you got to take it, and that means take yourself someplace else. With trust, we work together. Without trust, we work separately. See, a lot of teams work separately together. A lot of couples live separately together. A lot of marriages operate separately together. I always joke, those people, they don't even like each other. They just live together, and they walk in the door and say they love each other, but they don't even like each other. That's a team. Husband-wife relationship, that's a team right there. With trust, husband and wife work together. Without trust, they work separately. And they may end up separated at one point because of it. So there's big teams. There's teams with tens of thousands of people on it. And I just shared with you a 2-person team, husband and wife. And if they have children, well, the team's even bigger than that. So these principles related to the 30 traits related to becoming a high-impact team player. I hope you're looking at these traits and listening to these traits, not just about your work team, but also about your personal team. Because it matters a lot at home. You can build a high-performance team at home. You see these husband and wife teams that they just out there killing it in the world together. It's because they're aligned on values, their character, their competency may be different because they may have 2 professions, but their character is aligned. They make a lot of stuff happen. They got a lot of shared values. With trust, the mission is likely to be accomplished. Without trust, the mission is likely to be compromised. Teams who are working well together, high-performance teams, they're going to accomplish the mission. They're going to figure out how. Those who don't have a lot of trust, they're going to fail on a lot of their missions. And they're going to blame somebody else, and they're going to make excuses, and they're going to point fingers at each other, and they're going to stab each other in the back. So you want to build a high-performance team, you need to get them this book. You need to lead them through book studies. Remember, episode 305, I teach you how to facilitate that book study. There's no pressure. Don't be intimidated. You don't have to teach anybody anything. You just have to create the space and facilitate it. Buy the books and lead the little simple process. But go listen to episode 305. I teach you how to do it. Trust is the foundation upon which high-impact teams thrive. So you got to teach people about trust and character so that they can develop their own character so that everybody is building trust with everybody all the time. You're going to have a high-performance team. But you got to be that person if you own a team. You don't have to have a leader do it for you. You just do it. You become the leader. If your formal authority leader is not doing it, lucky you. You get to lead. You do it. You share these podcasts with them. You get them books. You get them to buy their own books. You get the company to buy them books. It doesn't matter. You be the leader. Each player, regardless of their position, title, or rank, is responsible for intentionally helping the team build a strong foundation of trust. And that's what I love about that call I was on a minute ago. There's a team of people at all different levels, with all different skill sets, with all different years of experiences, different ages, all kind of different people. But the people on that call have taken responsibility to help the team build a strong foundation of trust. They're separating themselves in the industry. There were people on that call a moment ago who don't work at Kilgore, who were from Missouri, from Georgia, from North Carolina, from California, just because of the influence that Jason and his team have with those people. Some of them I introduced them to, some of them I didn't. They got their own network, but I share my network with Jason, and he invites them to participate. And really, he's doing that hoping they'll go do that in their own company. Same reason I do. I introduce them to him as a resource for development, but I'm hoping they're going to go do this with their own team. And even if your entire company doesn't do it, if you just get the people who are on your direct team, regardless of your position and title, you guys start growing together, your team's going to be phenomenal. And that's where you work. That's who you're counting on, those team members. Be trustworthy is the most important trait. However, this one trait is based upon many other traits. So this whole book, remember, trait 1 was be growth-oriented, because you've got to be growth-oriented. You don't want to be goal-oriented. We talked about that. If you didn't hear it, go back and listen to the last episode. But this is the most important trait for becoming a high-impact team player. You've got to be trustworthy. The upcoming 28 traits that I'm going to share with you that complete the 30 that's in this book, all of these traits support this trait. That's why this one is number 2. You got to be growth-oriented before this one becomes number 1. But once you're growth-oriented, this is the most important trait. But see, once you understand be trustworthy, you know this one is the foundation. And even though I put number 1 as be growth-oriented, being growth-oriented makes you more trustworthy. So see, that one, even though it's first in the book, this is the most important one. And all the other 29 support this one right here. So I'm going to leave you with a quote from Michael Josephson. He says, I judge myself by my best intentions, but others judge me by my worst acts. Think about that. What he's saying is, I judge myself based on my best behavior, by the best part of me, but others judge me by my worst act. You've probably heard me say, maybe if you listen to all my episodes, but I'll repeat it right here. But who we are sometimes is who we are all the time. And when I say that, what I mean is what he just said in his quote, but I say it in a different way. Who we are sometimes is who we are all the time. What I mean there is the worst character traits that we have them all the time. We may not be showing them to everybody all the time, but they're a part of who we are. So that's who we are all the time. And I use a joke, and it's just a joke. Don't call the law. But I use the joke. Let's say I was a serial killer. It's a joke. But let's say I was a serial killer, but you didn't know it. The only people that knew it are the people that I killed, because I'm a good serial killer. I ain't ever been caught. I ain't never going to be caught. I'm that good. Again, it's a joke. But let's say it was true. But nobody knows it. Am I still a serial killer for all the other people I interact in life? I'm still a serial killer. I still got bad character. That's still who I am. Nobody knows it. But there's a few people that know it, but they ain't going to tell anybody. You know what I mean? They done talking. See how it works? It could be little things. If you're the kind of person that tells some lies or treats your spouse bad or treats one specific team member bad or badmouths some team members. See, if you badmouth your team members, you're not a high-impact team player. High-impact team players don't badmouth team members. If you badmouthing a team member to another team member, you're teaching them who you are. It's a big flashing sign over your head that says, hey, he or she, they're the kind of person that talk bad about you behind your back. And you may think you're building trust with somebody because they're talking bad about somebody else behind their back. Maybe the same person you're talking about, but what you're both teaching each other is we're the kind of people that talk behind people's back. And then you may go into the meeting and you don't talk like that. Well, I'm here to tell you, you still like that. I judge myself by my best intentions, but others judge me by my worst acts. Michael Josephson. I'm going to leave you with that thought. Hope you enjoyed part 2 of 30, Blue Collar Leadership and Teamwork, 30 Traits of High Impact players, I hope you go buy this book. I hope you lead your teams through book studies, because that's what high impact players do. They grow and develop other people. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.